The KMT presidential and vice presidential candidates met with the international press on Thursday, 3 days before Taiwan's general elections. Hou Youyi and Zhao Shaokang elaborated on their comprehensive strategy to enhance Taiwan's security, improving military strength and communications across the Taiwan Strait.
国家领导有责任追求和平，避免战争的责任。
The country's leadership has a responsibility to pursue peace and avoid war. Therefore, I want to make it clear that during my term, I will not touch upon the issue of reunification because the future of Taiwan is decided by its 23 million people. I am committed to taking the middle path, emphasizing dialogue and communication with China to minimize risks. This is my attitude and determination.
这就是我的态度，我的决心。
Increasing our national defense budgets and enhancing our defense capabilities are definitely our priorities and mission.
You have campaigned on the basis of dialogue and engagement with Beijing. How will you balance Taiwan's relations with China and the U.S. in the event, and also in the event that engagement with China comes at the expense of ties with the U.S. and the wider Western world? How would you do? What would you do?
我和美国对中国大陆的路线是一致的。 我会反对台独的，我是坚定的反对台独。
The U.S. and I share the same views on China. I will oppose the independence of Taiwan. I am firmly against the independence of Taiwan, and I am also against one country, two systems, which is the middle path that Taiwan should take. Taiwan can stand on its own feet and strengthen itself in the middle path between the two sides. Therefore, we must have dialogues and exchanges with the outside world, in addition to strengthening our national defense and military. We also need to communicate with the outside world to minimize risk. We in Taiwan have to take the responsibility and take our own confident path. It's the same with the U.S. and China. We have to take our own path so that we can play the role of a facilitator of peace and a stabilizer of the region.
国家领导人绝对不可以引战，不引战的方式。
National leaders should never start a war, and the way to not start a war is to not support Taiwan's independence and not let China have an excuse. We don't support the independence of Taiwan, so we have to stand by Taiwan's free and democratic system and stand by our free and democratic allies.
当然，我们的国防军备能量跟大陆是。
Of course, our national defense and military equipment are not comparable to that of China, but we have absolute confidence that it will not dare to start a war. They will not be able to pay the price once the war is started.
现在两岸关系好不好呢？
Cross-strait relations aren't at their best right now. It takes two to tango. Of course, Beijing is going to criticize, but is the DPP exempt from responsibility? Why was the cross-strait relationship so peaceful during Ma Ying-jeou's tenure? The U.S. also said that the Ma Ying-jeou era was the best ever for Taiwan-U.S. relations. They said it was solid as a rock. During Ma Ying-jeou's time, the U.S. also gave visa-free access to Taiwan. Tsai Ing-wen came to lose 9 diplomatic allies in a short period of 8 years.
Amid escalating military tensions with China and a challenging global economic landscape marked by dwindling exports, the KMT duo also unveiled their approach to boost global trade and address domestic economic issues. These include tackling low salaries, inflation, labor shortages, and the aging population.
Basically, young people are very dissatisfied with the DPP because they used to support the DPP. But after 8 years in power, people's livelihood has not gotten any better, but rather is under greater risk, with a higher possibility of the occurrence of war. General wages are also unsatisfactory, so young people have already begun to reflect on their past choices. Mayor Ho has only been a member of the KMT for 5 years, and I've been away from the KMT for 30 years. I rejoined the KMT in 2021, as I was originally going to run for the party chairmanship. But they told me I did not qualify, and that I needed at least a year as a KMT member. I had to come back to revamp the KMT, and it's true that many aspects of the KMT need to be revamped.
Richard Lloyd Parry of The Times. Vice President Lai said recently that Chinese meddling in this election is the most serious we've ever seen. Do you agree with that? And does it concern you that Chinese manipulation is being used to promote your candidacy?
If there is any concrete evidence of China's interference in the election, you look into it. And I also absolutely oppose China using any way to influence the election in Taiwan. I reiterate that I oppose China's intervention in the election in Taiwan. Taiwan is a democratic and free country, and we, the people of Taiwan, have good judgment. But our opponent, the Democratic Progressive Party, you didn't do a good job, so don't cover up the fact that you didn't do a good job. The DPP can't keep blaming everything on China's interference in our elections. Everything is blamed on China's election interference. Personal preference is not important. You still need to communicate with China. Is Biden really like Xi Jinping? I doubt it, but Biden still needs to talk to Xi Jinping. You have to communicate. How can you not talk, not communicate? Communication and exchange are very important, and our democratic system is also the most important. Of course, national defense is very important, and you need preparation. But if you solely rely on defense, you only need to give it a serious blow. China is still very large, and its defense budget is 17 times that of ours. It is difficult to compete with this. Communication is still very important. On the one hand, the power of deterrence is needed. If you attack me, I'll make you suffer badly. You cannot do this lightly. On the other hand, you still need to communicate. Someone just asked how long the status quo should be maintained. Maintain it as long as possible. Just try to make it last as long as possible. That's all it is, okay? Thank you.
With an eye on boosting Taiwan exports and attracting foreign investment, the candidates are confident that their vision for a resilient and prosperous Taiwan will meet voters' expectations. This is Dimitri Bias for TVBS World Taiwan.